So we'll get started. And for those of you that like to follow me on Instagram, it's at GeorgeColorboyGeo. Just follow me there and you'll see all of the formulas. They'll be in the highlights. We're gonna do it on stories. Then we move it down into highlights and you can always see the head sheets and all of the formulation that we'll be using. I'm going to be working with 4 different products today that I'll be talking about. So all of our blonding system, we're going to talk about cream, magic, power, and we're going to talk about freedom blonde. So those are all great blondes that we're going to work with today. There's 4 of them. And we're going to talk about our high lifts and how many high lifts you can use and how you can use those to actually work with your blend so that you don't get that brassy band in there. So we'll be talking about that in just a second. So please, I'm waiting for more people to hop on. I know there's a few of you on there right now. Thank you, and I welcome you for coming and seeing us today. Right now, we are showing you from the Kuhn Academy. It's our advanced academy here in Buckhead, Atlanta. So for those of you that haven't had the opportunity, I'll just give you a quick little view of it. I'll have you turn the camera and you can check it out. So this is our advanced academy here in Atlanta. And let me tell you, we have great classes, great courses for you to come and visit us and take. So we have from fundamental cutting to fundamental color. We have color faster that I'm teaching with Fred and Leah Vincent. And it's not about really doing faster color, it's about where you use what on and when and on who. So we're definitely going to be talking about those subject matter topics today. Because I think those are some things that are really important to all of us. Sometimes we kind of wonder, what exactly do I use when and why? So we'll be talking all about all of that today and covering it all. And I really welcome any of your questions that you might have. So please feel free just to jump on and ask a question. So that's really important. And that'll help us to get the day going along. It's going to be about an hour, so we're going for 60 minutes. That's right, just 60 minutes, that's it. So just let me know when you're ready to go. We have a couple more minutes. And you're going to be hearing somebody, a friend of mine that I want to introduce to you. Her name is Jessica Mills. She's our VP of Education, shows, and she does all sorts of things, but most importantly, she really keeps us on task and keeps us going. And I want to thank her for giving us this opportunity, along with Ashley and all the girls, little Jessica, and Lori over at Bank Style for also helping us with this presentation today and all of our lives. So throughout the week, you're going to see different artists coming in from our Kuhn Academy that are Academy educators. So we have Gareth Palmer that's going to be coming up. We have Dallin Flint. We have Amber Spreechek tomorrow. It's going to be blonding. If you really want to get into a great course too, you can pick her brain. She's our technical director, and she'll be teaching you about blonding as well tomorrow. So those are the things that you guys have requested. Yes, Jess?
No, tomorrow's Chris Combs and Thursday's Amber.
Oh, that's right. Tomorrow is Chris Combs, and it's 7. What's the title again?
7. Oh, it's Tuesday.
Good. So it's all about the blow dry. And let me tell you, this guy's amazing when you really listen. It makes sense and really will help you with that. Fundamentally, how you can build up that base, work it through, and get some great styling in for your clients. So I'm going to get ready to get started in just a minute. I'm going to get my gloves on.
Get started. Go ahead.
What's that?
Go ahead and use it done.
Okay.
Just start.
Okay. So we're going to turn down the music in just a second. It's 12:59 now, so we're going to get started. So for those of you who jumped on, I'm welcoming any questions that you might have. For those of you that aren't using Kuhn, basically just ask the question. If you don't understand what I'm talking about or you don't know what the number means, just let me know and I'll be able to explain that to you. So again, this is one of my favorite topics. Thank you for joining me today for Tap Into Your Creative Process, the 2nd edition. And this is really important and near and dear to my heart. This is a topic that I think I have the number one question as a colorist when I walk into your salons. And that is all about the toning and the timing. So we're going to be talking about that in just a little bit. First off, I want to talk about blonding. Blonding is one of my favorite things to do because it gives you a beautiful dimension of color all the time. This technique, when you're using it in the salon, is great and quick because it'll give you beautiful face framing, and it'll also give you beautiful, beautiful accents and ribbons of color throughout the face in the very front area where they always like to see it lighter and brighter. So we're going to begin, and I'm just going to say, for those of you that aren't, please follow me on Instagram, GeorgeColorboyGeo. there are two, so this is the one you want to follow and definitely go to. And I'm going to just put this over here. I'm going to talk a little bit about my formula and why I'm choosing the formula that I'm using. We are using on the base color, we are going to be using a semi-color, and our semi in Kuhn is our demi-permanent line. So it's a mixing ratio of 1 to 2. What you can do is you have 1 part of color, so say 30 grams, with 60 grams of what we call our activator that's dedicated to that brand. So what you can do is you have a red activator, which is a higher volume, and you have an activator, which is a lower volume. So you have 5 in activator, 5 volume, and then you have 7 volume with our red activator. So you can choose those. I like to use red activator when I'm doing a blending. So I'm going to start with my first formula, and that's my base color. And that's a 724. This was new color that came to us in the last collection of our limited edition. And it's really pretty because the 2 is a pearl and the 4 is a copper. And you get this beautiful, beautiful level 7 beige copper, which is really nice and neutral. And that's the other thing I want to talk about, which is whether you want to create neutral effects or natural effects. And we'll get into that in just a little bit. The second color choice from our Ultimate Blonde, our High Lift series, is 1517. I like that because it's going to help to control the warmth and the undertone, and that's what I really want to cover in toning. And what you're going to do is by having a 1517, you have an ash, which is your 1, and a violet. And you know that you need an ash violet in that level of a 7, 8, and 9 when you want to create some of that orange yellow. What you can do is use a 1517, and that'll really assure you to neutralize that when you're lifting. So that's also key in your lifting process and in your blending process. This is what we're going to be calling our intermediate color or our blending tone that we're going to be working in this technique. The third color choice is going to be Ultimate Blonde. It's going to be our power lift. It's going to give me a beautiful lift of color, and it's going to give me up to 8 levels of lift, And I love using that because it really does what it says. It's going to give you that power lift when you really need it. And I think today what we're seeing is we're seeing a lot of people that are wanting that lift, not compromising the integrity, which is really key. And always, always remembering to have the durability of your toner. And that's what we're going to talk about as well. So my first section that I'm going to take in my head sheet is, and I'll get those for you so you can see them. I've already started the sectioning. So what you're going to see is there's 4 sections. This is 1, this is 2, this is 3, and this is number 4 in through the sides and through the temple area. It's really important that you have those partings off because I'm going to start in the very corner, right in through and in front of the ear in the temple area, right over the eyebrow on the right side, the other eyebrow on the left side, and then down and through the temple area again, straight across. Now, stitching. This is really important because everybody always asks, what kind of stitch are you going to use? Around the face, they always like to see a little brightness. So I was talking about an intermediate color, and that was our 1500 series, our High Lift series. So the reason why I use that as a blending color, anytime you have a blend from dark, medium to light, you have a shadow root, and then you go in and you put your lightener. And sometimes in that intermediate area of the hair, let me show you an example. Sometimes in this vicinity, right in through here, we tend to get a little bit of a brassy tone because of the dark to the light. There's nothing in there to help it to blend. So what I've decided to do on this technique is I'm going to show you how you can do a blend with the application. Now, the back I've already pre-done, and I want to show that to you in just a minute, but I want to start in the very front. I'm going to take a really soft diagonal, and then what we're going to do is that diagonal is going to be a diagonal back away from the face, so you can see that right there. Perfect. And this is going to be my first section. I'm going to take a really soft stitch of a baby light, and I hope you guys can see that. Can you see that well?
Yeah, can we get in a little closer?
How's that?
Closer.
How's that?
Closer.
You want it closer?
That's good.
Is that good?
Yeah, it's delayed, so it's taking me a second.
Okay. So the first section that I'm going to take is just going to be a baby light or a small stitch. We're going to drop that out. We're going to work into that temple area. And the first intermediate color that I'm going to use is going to be my High Lift, which is my 1517. 1517. We've already worked into that base. We've already worked our base color or our shadow root. And depending on how much shadow root you want to create is going to be depending on the client that you have and how much drag you want to give it. So I'm going to add just a little bit more drag. Thank you. There we go. And then I'm going to pull through onto the ends my high lift. And I'm going to work that all the way through. There you go. Now this is going to be my first section. I'm going to fold it up on itself there. Remember, you have that little bit of a shadow, so I'm going to fold it in on itself that way. I'm going to tie that in. By locking it in and showing that little butterfly, that'll help to hold that in. Now here's the interesting part about what I'm doing. Sometimes we alternate our colors, one color here, the next one there. What we're going to be doing all the way across, if you take a look at the head sheets, you can see A is all the way across. So we're going to do 1517 in all 4 sections first. So we're going to be working across the face, and then on the way back, we're going to be using our second color, which is our lightener. Now by doing that, you're going to get a really beautiful blend. So here's the first section here. Here's my 1500 all the way through, blending it into that shadow and working it all the way through. Now what's nice about this is because I did take the baby light section in the very front, what's going to happen is you're going to have a beautiful, beautiful little bit of the dark color underneath that you can paint later, and that'll help to blend into that hairline. And that's where clients are always asking for you to get it really close or tight to the scalp. They don't want to see that line of demarcation. Today's forgiveness is that we are now creating shadow roots, so it's really important that we have a nice blend in that shadow. Again, here's my baby light. I'll just show you really quick. There it is. This section that we've left out is going to blend into the highlight section or the high lift section that we are going to be putting in the foliage. Okay. So you want to see the stitch? I'm going to show it to you really quick. It's just a really soft micro or baby light stitch. You can see it that way. That's going to be my first section. And I'm going to work through my shadow, just work it in just a little bit. Now that's going to help me to drag and get my blend on my 1517 as I work that all the way through. You can see Bill in the background, he's helped me out today.
Hi, y'all.
Hi, y'all. Now we're going to work all the way across. Now just remembering what we've done is we worked all 4 corners first. So temple area on the other side. Getting that section out. There it is here. And the other thing that I want you to take a look at is ask yourselves, do you work on the outside of your stitch or the inside? So let me show you what that means. If you're working on the interior of the stitch, see this wide section out on here and on the other end? That means I'd be going in the inside of that area, and my stitch is going to be a lot more narrow. But if I work on the outside, so figure out what you're doing when you're working on this and see what you do. I'll tell you why it's really important. Have you ever had a client that says to you, you know what? It looks too dark. She got a low light. It's fall. And you do a low light. Well, here's what's happening. And the reason why she sees all that dark is because if we are one that works on the outside of our section, look how broad that section will be. So if that's sitting on top of the hair, what she's going to see is that dark is going to dominate most of her highlighting. So now what you want to do then is you want to go on the inside of that section. And by doing that, your section is now more narrow. And now it's going to blend into the low light here and the highlight behind it. So I'm going to work on the interior of that section. The way I look at it, it's really simple. I look at it in the way of, I know that some of you do a lot of cutting and coloring. So look at it like, what kind of tool are you using on your haircut? Is it a notching shear? That would be a big stitch. or is it a blending shear? That would be a soft baby light stitch. So just determine exactly what kind of stitch you want to create in your color application, and that'll always help you. I just look at it like color is really important, but it has to match the haircut. It always has to. So I always think of a few things that I do when I'm coloring hair, is I always think of how I'm going to lift that hair away from where it lives. I want to know what my finger angle is going to be, and I want to be sure I understand my elevation. Am I going to pull it away and work back away from the head shape? So here's all 4 sections. Once we've done that, you're going to leave a nice section of hair out. In all 4 of those sections, you're going to drop that out. And here's something else that I always say, and it's really important. It's just as important what you leave out of the foil as what you put into it. Meaning, there are times when you're working with dimensional color, and I've done it, I'll be the first one to admit it. Have you ever done a full head of hair and you kind of wonder where the dimension is? And you think, I put all these foils in it, what happened to it? Well, because if we're working with small sections in between and we're doing a lot of foils, what's going to happen is you're going to lose your definition. You're going to get a more monochromatic looking color, more solid looking. But if you're working with bigger sections in between, what's going to happen is you're going to get more definition of color throughout the hair. So you really want to understand exactly what you leave out and what you put into that foil. So now that we've taken those sections, here's where we're going to begin. Now, here's the interesting part. We've gone from my right, all the way to the left, using the same one formula, which is your 15, 17, all the way across. Now in between, we just dropped out these sections of hair right here. And now what you're gonna do is I'm gonna take a slice and work that through. I'm gonna drop out that section. Now we're gonna take a beautiful slice of hair. Okay, so you can see that slice right there. You left out a section, and here's your 15, 17. Now the 15, 17 is with 30 volume. My lightener that I'm using, which is now gonna be my cream, is gonna be with 20 volume.
What color and level is 1517?
1517, thank you, that is awesome. 1517 is a high lift, and we have 1517, which will actually be a blue violet, which helps you to control that level of lift when you're lightening. So that's really important. We also have a 1519, and those are beautiful. They're some of the best high lifts I've ever worked with, to be really honest with you. So for those of you that are wondering, it is a 1-to-2 ratio, meaning 1 part of color to 2 parts of its developer. And what that's gonna do, you can use it on the scalp or off. I tend to use it a lot off the scalp in foil packets. And now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use my lightener. We're gonna blend that through. Yeah, Jeff?
And George, will you be, where will you be placing the head sheets?
They were gonna be on my highlights on my Instagram.
And
Perfect.
comments.
And in the comments, we'll also place them later on today. We like to go back and just look at all the comments, and then we put them there as we're speaking to people or answering some of the questions, because sometimes we don't get to do it in real time, so I'll do it later on for you. Thank you for that.
Excellent. Thank you.
You're welcome. And the next thing you want to do now, next to that, is another slice, and that's going to be directly. And you want to kind of stagger it in between. So I'm going to move that out. It's kind of like a brick layer. Well, it actually is a brick layer. There you go. Now this is my next section. And now I'm using the lightener all the way back across. So the first section.
What lightener?
This is going to be, this one actually is cream, I'm sorry, with 20 volume. What I used on my benchmark, which is the formula that you saw earlier, I used Power Lift. So now there's this section. Okay, and then I'm gonna just move it this way. We're gonna also stagger it in between. And now you're gonna start to see the curvature of the head you're gonna be working with. So now you're going to drag that through. So a little bit
George,
of a
would you mind to repeat the base color formula?
Sure. The base color formula is our semi-color, and is 724, which is a pearl copper. It's new. It's been in our limited edition from the last limited edition that we had. And I like it because it gives you a really beautiful, natural, don't be afraid of the copper. I kept away from that. You know, there's sometimes you get colors and you look at it and you think, yeah, I don't really want to work away from what I'm used to. So when I used it, I thought it's the most beautiful level 7 blonde that I've worked with. It's really pretty. And I worked with our activator, so it was 1 part of color, 30 grams, with 60 grams of our activator. So there's my cream, working that through.
Awesome. And the formula for your 15-17, did you use double 30 or double 40 volume?
Oh, I used double 40. I really want to get that level of lift, and in the timing, it's really important. You know, I think that's something that we kind of think about when we're working. Usually, traditionally, an application in any type of foiling, for me, in a salon environment, working like 10 deep, it's going to be about 30 minutes. Some book on the 45, I would book on the 30. So I would have to do an entire placement in 30 and then maybe paint in between, or paint as I go in between. Depends on what I'm doing. So now this is my second slice. So in timing, what's going to happen is after I'm done with my last foil completely, I time it for the next 30. So traditionally, high lifts give you a 15-minute processing time, so that will help me to get the lift. Then I lowered the volume in my cream so that I could get a little bit more control and that they can both lift just a little bit more balanced and together while they're working simultaneously. Was that okay? Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, great.
Okay,
Great.
good. So I'm going to turn it just a little bit. I'm working through that blend, and then saturation towards the end, because I really want a beautiful face framing and get it a little bit brighter around the hairline.
What about bands when you melt?
What about the ends when I melt?
Bands.
Bands. Okay, perfect. Great. So that is the number one question. Will you get bands when you're melting? Of course, because you have such a contrast of your natural base color and your shadow. So here's what we're doing. Remember, color is just an illusion, right? So what's going to happen is, see the blending color right here, the 15-17 that we started with? This is going to blend into the natural hair here, but we can take this hair, and I'm going to show you in a little bit, and we could actually do a hand painting freehand with Freedom Blonde and pull that through and let that softly lift in and get a beautiful blend from dark to light here, but my blending tone is going to be this one, the 15-17, that goes in between there. Same thing here. Now here's my light, here's my natural, here's
How
my
do you
natural.
avoid the bands?
And that's how you're going to avoid the bands, by using an intermediate color, a high lift tone, in between. So let me give you an example. This will be the sectioning that you have. Great question. And I'm going to show you, whoever asked that question just for demonstration purposes, we're going to work with smudging in the base. Now I'm concerned about getting that band in the middle right here. So now I'm going to take my 1500 and I'm just going to work that through, just through the middle.
And George, why do you prefer the red activator when you're doing blending?
I like the red activator because when I'm working on dry hair, thank you for that question. When I'm working with dry hair, and I really need to get a little bit more lift through that dry hair, because our semi is, you work with it with damp hair. So the 5 is just perfect. But with dry hair, I like that 7, and I like the 7 volume or the red activator to give me a beautiful blend in between my foil packets. Let's just say that she's got maybe 20 or 30%, and you're doing dimensional color on her just to blend her gray. What's perfect with semi-color and red activator is that because it's a little bit higher volume, it's going to give you that blend on that gray that's left in between those foil packets. Because let's face it, you're not going to get every gray hair in that strand. You're not going to get it into the foil packet because you're doing stitching. So when you paint in between, and let's just say one of my favorite semi-colors to blend gray with would be 9.32, which is a gold beige or gold pearl. The other thing is, somebody asked me what the activators are. So activator is going to be 1.5%. Okay, so that's going to be a 5 volume. And when you look at our red activator, that's going to be 2% or 7 volume. So that's a really great way to work with the activators and semi. Great question, thank you. Now,
I have a couple more for you as well.
but I just want to just recap this for those that you jumped on. So now I've worked. The first row was going to be my 1500 series, 1517 with 40 volume. The second row coming back this way, that you see right here, is going to be my lightener with 20 volume. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to take out that section again and drop that out. Okay, so what are the questions, Jess?
One is, can you explain double 40, and can 1517 be applied to other hair, not just natural?
Oh, good question. Okay, so the thing is, on natural hair, you're going to get your levels of lift. I understand that. On color-treated hair, I guess the question that I'm going to put out there, does color lift color? We all say no immediately, right? But it affects it. So you may not get the levels of lift that it's intended for on natural hair, but you will, with the high lift, get those levels of lift. Now, back to the double 30 and the double 40. Let's think of that. Let's think of a high lift. It's going to sit on the hair for quite a bit of time, right? Like 50 minutes, traditionally. If it's sitting on there, what you do by adding that double developer is you're actually soothing down the alkalinity that allows you to sit there, get the levels of lift that you need without compromising the integrity of the hair. And that's what your double 30 or double 40 is doing. Remember, it's just more water and more oxygen. So are you getting the levels of lift? Yes, absolutely. But are you soothing the alkalinity of your color that's in the tube in order to get those levels of lift and not compromise the integrity of the hair? And that's how high lifts are working. I've also used high lifts for toning with double 10, double 20, just to kind of infract a little bit of that yellow that I can't get out, break it up, and then go in and tone and lift. So it's lifting and toning. And that's where I think high lifts are really not used enough, and they could be used even more. Good question. I hope I answered that for you. Now, I'm going to continue to work with the round of the head. Why use what?
What does color lift color?
Why does color what?
Lift color.
Okay, so like we were saying, color doesn't necessarily lift it, but it affects it. So let's look at that. If you have a little bit more alkaline source, that's a little bit higher, what you're going to do is you're going to see that you're going to get those levels of lift, right? So what that can do for you,
Just let me
there we
do
go.
it.
Just give me another one over there. Thank you. And I'll get back to that question right now. Thanks, Bill. Much better. Okay.
All right.
There you go. All right, so where was I? I was talking about levels of lift with high lifts.
Color affecting color.
And color affecting color. So let's think about it. Think about this. It's really important. If your client has been doing some color at home, let's just say, and she's been doing it for a while, the first thing that I'm going to think about is, how am I going to get that color out? So I always think, well, I'm just going to go to lightener. You can go to lightener, but if you're doing dimensional color and you want to break it up, I would first take a control swatch, put it on through the hair, and see what the history is. Now, if it starts to lift at the base, and then mid-shaft, and then the ends stay where they are and don't really move a lot, that means she's got a huge history of color. So that's going to be more difficult to take out. So here's a little phrase that I always do to remember. The older the hair, the harder it is to get out. The younger the hair color, the easier it is to remove. So let's just say she did it that day. She comes in, she says it's too dark. It's going to be easier to remove. Also, I do have some color removal formulas that are also, I can put on the comments later for you too. So I'm getting, great question, thank you for that. So now as I'm working in the round of the head, there's two things that you'll want you to consider when you're doing this. You're working with the natural fall of the hair and the natural form of the head shape so that you're getting these diagonal sections. So you're gonna get a lot of forgiveness in this color because the way it shifts and because you're working with the natural form of the head shape.
IG, hello to Moscow.
Hey Moscow, thank you for joining today.
Moscow, Russia.
Moscow, Russia. Oh my gosh, well thank you. So now here's my next section. Right here, I left out a section. This is gonna be my 1500 series. And we're gonna work that through. I'm gonna take my shadow and I'm just gonna shadow that in. The higher that I work up into the top of the head, the lower my smudge becomes because I have more travel and I want that shadow to really live in there. So now this is my 1500 and 17. We're gonna work that through. You really wanna work that blend all the way through your semi-color. Because this is a high lift, it's gonna break that and give you a little bit of lift with a tiny bit of tone. So it helps to forgive that little band of demarcation between your dark and your light. There, that is there. I'm gonna pull that in. Again, working straight across. It's really important. All the way across the round of the head. It's kind of like a headband.
You have people in Iraq too on Insta.
What's that on the rack?
You have people in Iraq on Insta.
Well, hello, Iraq. Thank you for joining us. So now here's my next one. This is going to be my smudge. I'm going to work with my 1500. I'm going to work that through. Work that blend all the way in.
Kansas City. Kansas City.
Hello.
Kansas City, how are you out there? Hope you're doing well. Thank
We
you
have
for
some
joining me.
friends from Spain and South Africa as well.
Wow, Spain and South Africa. You know, I was just in Spain, just in Madrid for the International Hairdresser Awards.
Tilt her down.
Believe me, got out just in the nick of time.
This way. This way.
Before this damn corona. And
So,
we're gonna-
question for you, George.
Yes, what's your question?
Would you paint 1517 over previously highlighted pieces or weave those out?
Okay, so the question is, would I use 1500 series on previously colored hair, on pieces, or by itself, correct?
Previously lightened hair.
Or previously lightened hair. Okay, so if I'm doing dimensional color and I have a retouch, I think that's a great choice to use because I have a better control in timing and I'll get the levels of lift to do a blend with already pre-existing color treated and previously colored hair and lightened hair. So it's a great blending point, and when we're doing a touch-up, we're using the line of demarcation is usually what we're touching up. So I like to use it as an intermediate. There are times when I'll use a level 9. It just depends on the variation of the tones and her natural level of her base. So here's a little hot tip for you. So anytime I'm utilizing a level 7, 8, 9, 10, I will use a high lift, okay, with say double 30. Now anytime I'm using anything below that, I will usually break up the base first, get her to at least, if she's a level 3, 4, 5, I want to get her to a 6 or 7 first, do an all over color, get her to that level, and then work off that level with a lightener, and that'll help to give you the dimension, and alternate that with a high lift. So that will help you to get a better blend, and like I said before, color's an illusion. That'll help to give you a little bit more forgiveness on your retouch. Great question, thank you for that.
And I have another.
Okay.
Could you also use magic blonde for this technique versus cream blonde?
Okay, so yes, you could. Magic blonde, I definitely use on darker levels of hair. I like it because of the silk protein. It's easier to rinse out, but I also get those great levels of lift quicker. So it packs the hair and gets you the lift. And I have a great visual for you in just a minute. So now we're going to take out the next section. These are all such good questions. Thank you guys.
And are you doing every other section with 1517 and cream blonde?
Okay, good one. So let me explain that to you, what I'm doing. So, traditionally what we're going to be doing is we work with color application, alternating this way. What we're going to do is we have 2 colors, and then the base color. I'm working across with the 1500, and then back with the cream, and then across with the 1500, and back with the cream. So what you're going to do is you're going to see an application that works across the head shape back here. Let me get this out of the way for you. So you can start to see that. I don't know if you can see that close enough. But see how I'm working in the round all the way across? We're going to work to about the high point of the head. And that'll give you a beautiful shifting of color. Great questions. Did that help? Now, in between each section that you color, you want to leave out the natural hair color. So now we're going to do one more section. Because I finished here, this is where I'm going to begin. This is going to be my next section. It's just going to be a slice. I hope that you can see that. And now I'm going to work in my lightener. So this would be a traditional application of color with a hand painting in between to give you the blend.
Are you painting?
Hmm?
Are you going to paint?
I am going to paint in between. So this is my last section that I'm going to be completing. And I'm going to work back to the other opposite side. And you're going to notice that with the shape of the head, you almost paint yourself into a corner. So my sections are getting a little bit smaller. And my section will be a diagonal back. So what that means is you're going to get a lot of movement when you curl it or you set the hair, which you're doing a lot in the salon. A lot of flat iron waves, a lot of curling iron work. After we're finished with that long hair, I like to call it Kardashian curls. And that's going to be right there. We're going to do one more section. Drop that out. Drop this out. And now this is going to be my 1500. And again, you always want to begin where you left off. So I dropped off here. Now I'm just going to work back this way. So you're working from side to side versus one on top of the other, and you're alternating of your colors.
And then George, are you still bricklaying?
I am bricklaying. I think when you bricklay, the visual, to create that visual texture of color is a lot more forgiving. It really is. I think when you stack and pack horizontally all the way up, so say you do a faux hawk this way and you do it this way, the color lays one on top of the other, and what you do is you get more solid looking color. So by working with a bricklayer, you get more movement, you get more texture, and you get more rhythm in your hair color. Rhythm meaning movement, definition. Those are really important, and they always want to see that. Okay, so now here's my next section. Dropped it out. And I know you can't see, but I'll move her head down so you can see it. There it is. Now this one's going to be straight in through the middle. But remember, this hair is not going to live right here. It's going to sit back this way. It's my 1500 again. Now this is my last section, and we're going to start painting now. So in the back, just to show you what we've done, I don't know if you want to revisit some of the opal pastel, very similar to what we did with triangle partings. I took slices and we worked those foils, bricklayering them, and leaving color in between those foil packets. So see, there it is there. So we can start to hand paint that if you'd like to. You can do this, and I'm going to show you exactly what you're going to do. So I'm going to drop this down just a little bit. Okay, so now that we have this hair that's all out of the foils, this is where I'm going to start my blending, and I'm just going to hand paint. So here's
we're getting a lot of questions about pricing, and I know we always want to advise people to price based on their market, but how would you start the process of quoting a client?
Hourly. You can do an hourly charge. There's no reason why we today cannot do just a charge for a highlight. It depends on the work that you're doing. I think if you have, and we're always doing color correction work, even though it's creative color correction, either in foil packets, putting a low light. I'm always having some certain color variations in there. So I read the hair and I think, do I need a low light there? Do I need a highlight there? Do I need the highest of all three there? And I always have those in the bowl. So you're customizing the work. So I think that's really important. Yes, your market and what it'll hold. But I also think if you're somebody that wants to maybe charge by the hour, there's nothing wrong with that. And that's going to give you true value. And it's really good for your booking time too. So you can make just as much money instead of getting and cramming them in every 30 minutes or 45 minutes or an hour. You can do less and make more. So
Sure. Yeah.
now here's my section here. I just want to cover this. Here's my 15. I blended it in. Okay, I'll turn it so you can see it.
Lower.
And now I'm going to paint. So I'm going to use that there. I'm going to use my hand to paint with. And now I'm just going to paint my lightener onto those ends to get my beautiful blend. Now my saturation is going to be here. So see how I just pulled that up and I pulled that brush through? That's just distributing that product and getting that saturation all the way in there. And we're going to just drop that out. We're going to do the same thing over here. And I'm working on the surface. So let me just turn it this way for you.
There's a good question.
What was the question?
Jessica can read it.
Which one? I
Why-
got a couple I was waiting for.
Why are you slicing in the back and not in the front?
Ooh, okay. Well, the question was, why am I slicing in the back and not in the front? So some of those sections that were sliced in the back, they're triangular. So by having two different variations of your line. So let's just say you have a V section. So this is diagonal back, this is diagonal back. Even though I'm taking slices, what's going to happen is because of that movement that you have, you're going to get movement in your hair color. It's not just going to lay there. So that V is really important because now you have diagonal back, and when you curl that hair that you took in that slice, it's going to give you more momentum in your hair color, and that's going to give you definition. Okay, now we're going to work that through. And we're working towards the front of the face.
And we have another one for you.
What's the other one, baby?
So as you're bricklayering and you're moving up, each layer alternating colors, or are they alternated within the same layer?
Yes. So the question was, in the layering of colors that we're working with, so straight across is your 15, 17. Then when you come back to the next section, running through here, you're leaving out hair in between your foil application, and then you're going across with the second color. So instead of alternating one on top of the other, you're alternating your colors side to side. Hope that helped. Okay, so here's my lightener. Gonna use, now you've seen me probably play with blends differently. Sometimes I use the foil because I don't use a board. I'm not as talented as some of you out there with the board, Alicia or Bella. I like to use my hand or my foil as a board, and then you can just leave that out. Now as I'm working towards the front, we're gonna take these sections, and now we're gonna start painting away from the face. So now you can see that the color is going to be this way, away from the hairline, and now that's going to give you a beautiful blend as you're working. I hope you guys can see this. And it's going to be away from the face. You know, I've done the technique, different types of foliage, where everything is in the face, and it's really difficult because sometimes that client needs to get up and use the restroom or get a cup of coffee, and she can't see with all those foils in front of her face. So this is going to help her. Now on this one, what I'm going to recommend is I'm pulling through some of the dark all the way through. You need a little dark in order to enhance that light, so don't forget that. Now this is my dark again. So now I'm pulling that
That's
color.
your base color, correct?
This is my base color. This is the 724. So we're working all that all the way through. There it is there. Now my next one, see here it is. Really simple.
Do you want your benchmark so you can show it?
I'll bring it out in just a second. Now here's my 1500.
George, did you use, what volume did you use with the cream blonde?
20. So I'm using 20 volume with my cream lightener, and that's all about timing for me. That's about allowing the foils packets that are sitting there to time, and I know that I won't lose control of my timing as I'm working with open air or open faced foils. So dark. This is my light. We're going to continue all the way through the front. And we're working on the surface. Now here's what's cool about the sectioning. Because I'm working from underneath the color, where does this hair usually live? Back and away from the face. So I kind of wonder why sometimes we paint on top. I think that's great, but when you paint from underneath, what's going to happen is when you start to give that curl, and I'll show you on my benchmark in just a minute, when you start to see that curl, you're going to have more twines of color coming through. And I'll show you in just a minute. So we're going to work that through. Drop that out. Paint through my semi-color.
Where's the formula?
That's 724. 1 part of color to 2 parts of red activator.
So George, would you recommend Freedom Blonde as an alternative?
Yes.
If you're hand painting?
Yes, and I would definitely suggest you use the Freedom Blonde. So just to give you an idea, I want to move through this because I know it's already 140, but everything here is going to be pulled away and completed that way. So everything here is going to live away from the face. And you can start to see the sections here. Everything lives away from the face. Everything lives away from the face. So when you've completed it, this is what it should look like. And then when you've completed it and you've left your timing, can you hand me that towel, please?
Yeah. Turn her head around.
Oh, yeah. No,
Do it.
towel.
Oh.
So now once that's complete, this is going to be your end result. Now here's what I think is trending. I think that we've been doing a lot of blending for a little while. So I think now's the time to come out with a little bit more definition of color. And I don't mean to say chunky or panels, but I think more definition. So this technique is definitely going to give you more definition. Now on this particular model on Emma, what we did was we decided to go a little bit deeper. So this is a 523 in semi, which is a pearl gold level 5, so that you can see the definition. This is my power blonde. And then my semi is painted through. And on this one is 1531. So you can definitely see the definition of the colors. And when you curl it, because we did it from underneath, see how you get that beautiful color coming through? And now you can see the definition of the color just a little bit more. And in the back, you can see the variation, how soft it is, how this color spills. I think this is a key point right here in the back of the head. This is the area that always splits. So what I did when I completed it, I did a couple of baby light foils in throughout so that it could spill and blend into the hand painting that we did on through the bottom. So you can see the variations.
Show her root.
Of the color. There's the regrowth, the root with the blend. And I think it's absolutely gorgeous. And I love this type of color and the definition. And I, you know, being a generation from the 80s and 90s when we used to do this really heavy, we were thinking about it the other day. We made so much money off of this type of idea of technique because it was so chunky. Thank you, Kelly Clarkson. So this is, I think, a new version of what definition of chunky color is going to be. I hope you enjoy that. Now I want to talk a little bit about toning and the light. We've had some really good questions.
That's raw, correct?
This is raw. There is no toner on this. I loved the end results that I got with the blend, with the color of the lightener, and I loved the 1531, how it gave me more blend. So now,
hey George, can you show the back? They're asking, please show me the slices at the back that are completed that you did on her.
Yeah, absolutely.
On your benchmark.
Sure. So remembering that when you took the sections, what I did was I took the sections into the back. You can see the blend.
Pull her down a little bit. There you go.
So you can see the blend.
Bring
so
her forward,
Here's
George.
the parting that we took. We took partings just like this. Can you see that, Joss?
Yeah.
So by taking these sections, painting this one, and then painting some of the dark in between, you're going to get more definition of color. And as you work up to the top, see how I started working in the lighter pieces to give me more of a blend? So the foliage would show up a little bit more definition of the color. Did that help?
That's gorgeous.
I think it looks like a grain of wood, and I think that's really key about the color. I love it to look so natural and pretty that way, even though it's got a stronger definition of color and tone. All right, so let's talk a little bit about some toners. And what I did for you, so that you can see them, so if we take a look, and I hope you guys can see them because I know the reflection sometimes in here can be a little bit trying to the eye.
Right there.
And you might want to tap the screen so you can get a better, there you go. So let's talk about our 4 lighteners and what they can do for you, because I think it's really important of knowing when and where you're going to pick these colors. So with cream blonde, here's the end result. This is a 30-minute processing time for all 4. What we did was I mixed all of the colors first, and then I did my application all at once and timed them all at 30 minutes. Now in Power Blonde,
It's hard
Cream,
to see the difference. 'cause
and
of
Magic,
light.
these were all covered and isolated. When I left Freedom Blonde on, I left it open air so that you could see the levels of lift. You can see the levels of lift in Freedom and how well that gives you that lift. Magic, here it is here. Cream, right here. Here's Magic. So they're very similar in tone when you take a look at them side by side. And then here's the Power. You can
Freedom
see.
got the most lift.
I think Freedom has the most lift. Now these were all on a level 7. So when you look at the swatches that I use, or the benchmark for the visual is at the base. They're all at a level 7. 30 minutes processing time, and you can start to see them. Now I wanted to talk a little bit about toners, and it's really important that we have a little bit more clarity on them, because we've had so many questions about toning. I think it's really important. So what I did is I wanted to create a cool result. So on the cool result, with the cream blonde, here it is here. And my formulation for this color right here that you see is 5 grams of 10.7, which is a beautiful violet level 10. A 10.2, which is our pearl. And then clear. So I did 5 grams of each, equal parts. And that was going to be 15 grams with 30 grams of my activator. And this was on damp hair, towel dried, okay? Really simple, really beautiful. But you can see that it's more on the cool tone. It's more taupey or weedy. And that's what I love about it. And some clients want that taupey or weedier color. They want a more cold or cool effect. So this will help you with our semi-color. And I just pulled that through. 20 minutes on the timing. Then with our Magic, I wanted a warm result. And I wanted to share with you how you can use Tinta. You know, sometimes in the back room we don't have what we need. Sometimes we run out, or sometimes we overuse our favorite formulas. So with Magic, here's the lift. I wanted to create a warm tone for you. So I used our Tinta. We did 9.3, which is a level 9 gold, 10 grams, and 5 grams of our 904 to create this beautiful, beautiful blushy kind of amber tone with the Magic Blonde. So this is Tinta. You can use our Tinta to create a demi-permanent result by using double 10. And it'll give you a gorgeous result. So let's just say you're doing a base color and you want to refresh it, but you don't have that tone. You can always take your Tinta, double 10, mix a fresh batch, pull it through mid-lengths and ends, and you get a beautiful, beautiful result. You can see that right there. Isn't that pretty? It's kind of like a strawberry-ish kind of color. Okay. Then I wanted to share with you, let me just get it really quick. Our neutralizing spray. It's a tool that I think many of you would be love to use. So our neutralizing spray is something that I used, and what I do is I put it into a spray bottle because I like the mist. I'll show you the mist really quick. So the mist on it is much softer when you're spraying it onto the hair. So you difference than just getting a one shot of the tone. So like that. So you get that one little spritz. See how soft that color looks compared to the spray bottle? So I like to put it into a spray mister and just get a really soft spray on that hair. So that's that. Now here's what I did. There's no reason why you can't use our neutralizing spray as your filler. So what I did was I used it on this side to cool out that warmth. There it is right there. Look at the difference in just one spray. I left it on for 10 minutes and I rinsed on the entire swatch. Then I toned, and my toner is 5 grams of silver to 20 grams of clear, just to get that really beautiful silvery tone in the color. So this is what it's like with the neutralizing spray. And then I put the semi directly over that. I let it process 10 minutes, rinsed it out, towel blot, and then I put my semi application, let it sit for 20 minutes. And let me tell you, I understand why some of you love to flash tone, because that is the longest 20 minutes that I have ever waited for any color swatches. It's nerve-wracking because I know in a salon you're probably busy and you're thinking it's oxidized. So in that oxidation, oh my gosh, it's gonna get dark. No, just let it sit. And I guarantee you'll get beautiful results. And here's the importance of letting it sit for the 20 minutes. Is that you're getting the purest, most durable and longevity of your color by using the 20-minute mark. Mm-hmm. If you're doing a flash tone in 5 minutes, you're doing yourself a disservice. I tell everybody this in every class because that's not the way the color was built to work, okay? I know it's extra time, I know you think it's important, but 20 minutes would be more important and it's better, and it'll save you from having to do a redo. It'll save you for another booking time and another service charge to the salon because you didn't take the right amount of timing to do it in. So that's really key. That's the only thing I'm gonna bitch about or complain about is stop the flash toning. It's not helpful and it's not doing you any good. That's just not the way color built. You need that oxidation period in that color in order for it to form and do what it's made to do. And that's what I would recommend. So
George,
yes.
What was your timing when you used Tenta as a toner? What's your timing?
I would do 20 minutes. 20 minutes definitely for timing. I think that's really important. You want to consider the porosity of the hair as well. So that's another whole class that we could do, because the porosity is also going to be a part of the end result. Remember, when you're doing any toning, you want to start with your starting level. That's number one key. Where am I starting? Where am I beginning from? What's her natural level? And if you can't determine, and I know some of you do drive-bys in the salon, you take your friend from the back room and you tell her, can you go check out my client? And you do drive-bys. And then you say, oh, she's a level 5. If you can't decipher whether she's a 5 or a 6, right? Is she a level 5 or is she a level 6? Think about it. I'm going to recommend that you always formulate for the darker of the two levels. So always formulate for your 5, and I promise you won't get a hot root or you won't overshoot your color and your tone. So that's important. The other thing is to remember that when you're working with toning, you want to get, what is that desired level that you want to get to, and then what is the undertone. So you always want to tone level on level. Now on this one in particular, just remember that. You always want to tone level to level. She's a level 8, tone to level 8. So you notice that the clear that I used with the last formulation was semi 20. That was a lot of clear, but I just wanted a hint of the silver. It's already soft and light enough, but I just wanted it to give me just a little bit, and I wanted to seal in the neutralizing spray and glazing it by that 20 minutes gives me longevity and durability in my color. So that's really key.
Roy's on.
Who is?
Roy.
Hey, Roy Peters. So Roy, I have to say, credit him with that. He's the one that taught me about the older the color, the harder it is to remove, and the younger the color, the easier it is to take out. So thank you, Roy, for that tip. I always remember that when I'm working with color, and I really appreciate you. You've been a great mentor to me. So thank you, Mr. Roy Peters. So I hope that you all had a great day today. It was a quick 1 hour. If you want to take a look, I'm going to recap really quick. So this is the foil application. So we did some foil in the back. Then throughout the sides and the front, we work side to side, all with the 1500 in these 4 packets. The next one behind that, we leave out some hair, and the next one behind that was gonna be my cream, and then leave out again. And then what we did after we were complete with it is we hand painted everything in between that we left out that was natural. And we did 3 colors on each strand. So you have your base, your 15, and then your lightener. So you can get a beautiful rhythm of dark, medium, light, and that's gonna give you a soft gradient of color. Then, this is the end result. So getting those, especially, I left a few larger spaces in between the hair that I left out, just so that I can get that little bit of chunkiness throughout the front of the hairline and get a better blend. So, I want to say thank you to everybody for just checking in with us here at the CUNY Academy in Buckhead. It's been my pleasure. For all of you that are out there, I hope you're staying safe and healthy. And more importantly, I know that you're probably going crazy. I had a little cabin fever, so I want to appreciate, with my heart of hearts, just thank you all for jumping in and joining with us in the last hour. Again, don't forget, we're going to be here doing CUNY Education all week long. Tomorrow, you're going to have Chris Combs with blow drying and finishing. It's a great class that he teaches, and awesome. You're going to love it. And then I want you to be ready for Amber on Thursday, and then Dallin on Friday. And his topic is just hair. So let's just see what he's going to have to offer. All of them are great educators. You're going to love each and every one of them. So I just want to thank you for your time today and all of the great questions. Thank you, Jessica. Thank you, everybody at Bankstyle. Thank you, Ashley, Jessica, and Lori. Love to all of you, wherever you're at. And for all of you that were on, we're going to leave it on my Facebook. So there's going to be questions. We're going to answer all those comments later on this afternoon. We'll have the head sheets up. You'll see everything. We're going to take pictures of them, and we'll post them on the comments so that you can take them and save them on your phones and have them as a reference. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed the hour. I certainly did. You all take care. I'll talk to you soon.